Ask Kevin to call the roll.
Chair Harry Meyer.
Here.
Gary Delvaux, Vice Chair. Here. Jim Boomrick. Here. Alderman Joe Moore. Present. Melanie Parma.
Here.
Matt Schuler.
Here.
Tom Weber.
Here. Ask for a motion to approve the agenda sent out.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, but there's been a request to move number 6 in front of number 1. The folks that are here for number 6 have to leave shortly afterwards, so.
Second as amended.
Okay, we have a second to that. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Approve of the minutes as sent out.
So moved.
Tom, second by
Jim.
Jim. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Communications none, so we'll do number 6 first, which is consideration with possible action on request to approve a term sheet with Von Briesen and Roper SC and/or its signs for Easttown Cup Foods redevelopment at 2280 East Mason Street, tax parcel 211261. And unfortunately, we have to go to, do you think we have to go into closed session?
There's an opportunity to, in terms of
Okay.
discussing
Do you want to explain
negotiations.
something then?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
So this is looking at, again, part of our Easttown redevelopment strategy. We've talked about the Easttown Mall. We'll be talking again later today. This is for regarding the Cubs food parcel, which is just directly to the west of this. So just right in between Main Street and the Easttown Mall property. We do have a developer. The agenda was noticed as Von Briesen and Roper. That is the law firm that is representing the developer, who's now been willing to come forward. That is Learstein Company. They're an Illinois corporation. They're proposing to purchase and fully renovate the Cub Foods property into a retail shopping center. They would like to put 3 to 4 mid-box retailers in there. And just in conversations I've had, with their team, again, these are going to be strong national tenants that really reflect good in terms of attracting additional retail in that area. And what they're looking for in terms of helping to support their redevelopment is a pay-go TIF assistance. This area, like the Easttown Mall, is not in TID 10. That is the Mason and Main TID. We talked about this a little last time. Fiscally, it's in good financial health and could support additional development within or additional parcels within. That would be a separate process that we again undertake. The developer is just looking for some guidance from the Redevelopment Authority of the city. Are they interested in this project or not? With that, right now, the request would be for a 75% pay-go. So after development is completed and comes online, for the duration of the TID, they would be requesting 75% of the increment that they created. Just in terms of value, and I made sure do my homework on this one and make sure we're up to line. Right now, the property has an assessed value of $1.8 million. Upon completion of the proposed project, we estimate that value to be up to about $5.5 million. Depending on the actual tenants that are in there and the actual leases that they have signed and things like cap rates, when that comes online, there's good potential for that to be higher. But I think right now, we just estimate conservatively, we could feel comfortable with that going up to $5.5 million. So with that, there is representation for the developer here. I believe Mr. Alan Markovitz is here from Von Briesen and Roper. If you'd like to ask him any questions directly, or if you'd like to ask any questions about this, or we also do have closed session language on here if you wanted to talk, maybe ask some more detailed questions regarding tenants, other types of things, or get into some of the negotiations. That's available to you as well. With that, the staff recommends moving forward with the term sheet.
One question, Kevin, is the entire project within the existing Cub Food store, or are they planning to build onto that?
My understanding is that they would just be using the existing shell.
Okay.
Kevin, can you refresh our memory on the remaining life of TIF 10?
Sure. TIF 10. Give me 1 second to pull something up and then I'll give you.
If I may, Kevin?
Yeah, you got it?
Yes, it was created August 14, 2004. Term would end in 2031. And that would be without any extensions.
Correct. And this was assumed without any extension.
Kevin, the pay-go would be 75% of the 5.5 million?
Correct. Or the taxes, the taxes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, you're right.
75% of the taxes on the incremental value
Yeah,
of the 3.7.
Which would be up to 3.7 million.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
And other Pecos, have we gone that high?
The one that we looked at for Cherry Street ramp, I believe we did 80%
Oh,
with that one. One of the things we look at it in terms of a TID that's been down the line a little bit more. There's not as much time to make up or recoup available costs. The other, in terms of just, looking at the project itself, in terms of one, demonstrated gap in financing, it exists, and the PAGO would cover that. The other, we feel in terms of just from a development perspective, you probably know better than I that, East Town Mall has been a tough one, that area has been a tough one to get moving
Yep.
forward. And so our feeling was to be a little more aggressive
Sure.
on this one, and that, we've got a huge population over there,
Yep.
30,000 plus residents, that need services. And I think, again, it's retail, like I mentioned last time when we talked about these things, it's cyclical and it's magnetic, and good retail attracts other good retail, and it's just a matter of, getting that momentum started, and I think this was that.
Yeah, I just want to say, you've done 100% pay-go
Pardon?
tips. You've done where they've gotten all their
Oh.
pay-go tip back,
Okay.
so this is something where we want to retain a little money for the district.
Yeah.
So, and the RDA and the city has done where they've gotten all the increment for a period of time. I want to make just one other comment on what Kevin said, and I know Alan's going to speak, and I've got another meeting, but this whole east side is a community in and of itself. I mean, there's 50, 75,000 people out there that need services, and library services, and food services. And so to say, well, we may have something on the east side of Green Bay, well, there's a lot of communities, the size of Manitowoc's 36,000 that has, we're more than two of them.
Right.
So I think we have to start thinking of, I'm not an east side, west side guy, but the growth is coming on the east side. And we got, a plot of 200 acres that you're gonna be adopting soon or in the next year. And there's just a lot going on. So as Kevin said, we're pretty bullish on making sure that those people have the services that they have to travel to get to
Right.
now.
Gary, one more point I'd like to make too on TIF districts is you have to look at the percent that's being contributed back to the developer with respect to the amount of life left in the TIF. So if this were still a full-throated 27-year TIF, that percent request might have been less. But because there's a shorter amount of time to recover it, as a developer, I would want to request a higher amount of
Right.
payback.
Right.
To your point, Mr. Bloomberg, our estimation was that this project would happen in 2017, be online 1/1 of 18, and therefore be eligible for payments in 2019, and so that's roughly 13 years of payback.
okay, ask for motion to open the meeting for public discussion.
So, second.
Tom, Jim, those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Alan Markovitz. I'm with the Milwaukee office of fundraising in Roper. My partner, Frank Kolakowski from the Green Bay office, is here with me today. The first thing I need to say is thank you very much for moving this up. This will allow me to keep peace in my household, so I'll be home.
That's
in
most
time.
important.
It took time to begin the holiday this evening, and this will allow me to get home in time. And I will be here in person the next time instead of my spirit being here the next time. I want to tell you a little bit about how we've enjoyed working with staff to get to the point where we have this term sheet ready for you to look at, and to tell you that this property is under contract. The property is scheduled to be closed before the end of this year. Purchase price is $1.7 million. The anticipated costs that will be invested in this project will probably be another $8 million over and above the purchase price of this property, which is why Kevin indicated before that the $5.5 million end value may be a quite conservative number, considering the amount that's going to be put in to refurbish this approximately 8-acre property from perimeter to perimeter. It's not just going to be the building that will be recast into a retail mode, but the rest of the area that surrounds the building will be brought to what we would call first-class commercial condition. Our client from Chicago area has successfully redeveloped property in Greenfield, in Wauwatosa, in Racine, and other communities, and we've made all of that information known to the staff. We've invited the mayor to call his opposite numbers in those communities, because there are lots of people, as you know, who can come in and promise you things, but they don't have a track record for delivery, and it's nice to be able to represent someone who does have that record and has earned it. As Kevin says, this project is scheduled to be completely leased out by the end of this year. By the time the closing occurs, all of the work would occur in 17. The property would be full value on the roll for January 1, 18. And with 13 years left to go, the math is the math. Obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be done between now and then. We need to come to a hard value on the property before we finish the final version of the agreement. But the term sheet, we think, is fair. We're looking forward to the opportunity to go ahead. It's amazing, coming from Milwaukee, to tell you how much foreign money, and I call foreign money anything that comes from outside of Wisconsin, is coming in here because people are bullish on Wisconsin. And it's nice to see people being bullish on Green Bay as well. So I congratulate you on attracting that kind of interest in the community. I think this can be something which is kind of like the man bites dog story, because what we have seen is big box retail disappearing into much lesser uses. It's nice to have something that slipped from its retail mode into something else and is now going to go back to what it was originally intended to be in the first place. I'm glad to hear the mayor say that there are people who will become customers of the businesses to be located here, so we feel very enthusiastic about this. I hope that the next time we're here, I'll be able to have my client from Chicago, but because he belongs to the same group I do, he couldn't get back to Illinois in time tonight to satisfy his wife and still be here this afternoon. That's why he's not here. So thank you very much for giving consideration to this. We're looking forward to working with you and the city.
So you're going to keep the basic shell, and everything inside is going to be replaced? So that
As I understand it, the basic shell will be saved, the property will be gutted out. There will probably be 3 to 5 tenants in the building. Today's retail environment is very attractive to the 15, 18, 20,000 square foot user. We're not getting as much demand for the 40 and 50 and 80 and 100,000 square foot users. So there will be a mixture of compatible retailers who will be in this building, which I hope will be a positive for everything in the neighborhood and positive to attract other people to this neighborhood.
So I'm sure you're aware of the discussions we're having with East Town Mall property. Do you feel this would complement that quite well? I
think this is an unusual situation in which you have something as significant as this going on in the same area. I think that there will be great strength. People who understand the retail business understand that the more retail power you have in an area, the better, and that 2 is better than 1, and 3 is better than 2, and so on.
Okay.
Any other questions?
As far as getting into who those 3 to 5 mid-size boxes would be, you'd have to be going to closed session for that, right?
Yes, we've acquainted Kevin confidentially with that, and we've authorized him to share what he wishes with you in closed session, which at this particular point, while we're in sensitive negotiations, I'm sure you can understand that we do not want to talk about that publicly.
Good. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll accept the motion and return regular to business. Carried. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
I got a comment here.
Go ahead.
All right, just gonna get into the numbers a little more clearly here, and Dr. Vaughn can confirm them. Just looking at the city of Green Bay with the assessed mill rate of $8.85 right now, we're currently drawing $48,675 in tax revenue off of this property as it sits. Is that correct?
Currently $15,930,
The 48 is once it's fully.
once it's completed.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I like about the 75% is that we actually are increasing the revenue here. What does that work out into annually as far as being rebated?
So if you look at, again, built, you add 3.7 million of value in 2017, so a new value of 5.5 million in 2018. Your TID taxes, which is the middle one, real estate taxes in the state of Wisconsin, that is $81,800 a year. So then the pay-go, 75% of that is $61,383. Over 13 years, yeah, just under 800,000.
I think it's a good term sheet. I'd like to get behind this and make sure we make this happen.
Thomas?
I'm fine. I'd make the motion to go ahead and approve the term sheet as presented.
All right, a motion from Joe, second by
I'll say.
Gary. A motion and second then to proceed with the term sheet for the with Bryson and Roper SE, and it's signs for the Easttown Cup Foods redevelopment project at 2280 East Mason Street. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Don't you ask the audience for anything?
Chuck, the last time we had these four, we took those in one action. We can do that again on 1 through 4?
On old business?
Communications. Those are communications that were referred to staff and bringing them.
We can do that in one motion.
Yes.
I'm not going to read all four of them, but we have four communications from Alderman Nicholson on the TIF projects and TIF lives, and there are four TIF areas that he asked for. These to be referred to staff then, or
They were referred to staff. They were both, I think initially from council, communications were referred to both RDA and finance. Director Fuller graciously did the dirty work and took care of the business at Finance Committee. So those were handled and received in place on file at Finance Committee.
Okay.
And so just parallel, I would make the same motion. I recommend the same here.
okay, we have a motion then from town to receive and place on file the four considerations. Second by Matt. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Good work. Number 5, consideration of possible action on request to approve a term sheet with Lexington Realty International LLC for Easttown Mall redevelopment at 2350 East Mason Street. What's that project, Dr. Kemp?
Okay, so this project came before you the other week. Our special meeting was brought up to council last week and was referred back by the council. I think, most of the question or one of the issues to talk about was the base valuation of the property.
Right.
We've had some additional discussions internally about where that may line out. With that, I think we're still a little bit in negotiation, so I would recommend, going into closed session to discuss, those values and how they might project out, and can discuss a little bit about our assumptions and projections and where things may end up being for this project.
Any other questions? Tom, you want to read the decree?
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
We have motion second, then move to closed session. Tom?
The authority may convene in closed session pursuant to section 1985, 1 of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 1985, 2 of the Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
Kevin, call roll, please.
Sure. Terry Meyer?
Yes.
Gary Delvaux? Here. Jim Bloomberg?
Aye.
Joe Moore?
Yes.
Melanie Parma?
Here.
Matt Schuler?
Here.
And Tom Weber? Yes. All right, I'm going to take that one down, the screen down.
Oh, yes.
Thanks. All right, Gary Meyer?
Yes.
Gary Delvaux? Jim Bloomberg? Joe Moore?
Yes.
Melanie Parma?
Here.
Matt Schuler?
Yes.
And Tom Weber?
Yes.
Randy, open the doorway.
Second.
Strategy closed session.
We don't even have to discuss any terms.
I mean, it's something you won't see it. What's that?
I'd like to report that during the closed session, the RDA members had a very extensive discussion with the staff on the Easttown Mall development project in relation to the investment, the assessment, all the different related financing actions involved that, and we voted to return regular to business, so you're all welcome to listen. So, gentlemen and Melanie, we have a action here on the request to approve a term sheet with Lexington Realty International for the Easttown Mall redevelopment project at 2350 East Basin Street. Any discussion? Or any motions?
Good question, go ahead. I can make the motion, but I just trying to address the things that we wanted to amend on that motion.
Okay.
So what were they, Joe?
I think that, I mean, as a term sheet, we discussed the debt service repayment.
Yep.
Yes.
There's really no say over the assessment, but the debt service amendment that's in there with the repayment really covers wherever that assessment falls. So I don't think we need to really press or put any language in regarding
We
that.
don't want to talk about the 6 million or 7 million or 8 million, whatever it is. And,
The more we overcomplicate it, doesn't make it any prettier.
Right.
Yeah, the current
So-
language, as
Cover-
amended
will
just by
cover-
last time, is shall pay incremental taxes at a rate of 110% of the debt service of the project grant, which is the $2 million, for the purpose of covering all administrative costs associated with the city's issuance of the project grant.
Right.
That was put in last time.
Yes.
That is what
That
it
was
is.
last time.
Yes.
So really, there's no need for any additional.
A little further discussion on it. I mean, there is, the TIF has to get expanded, the library has to jump on board. We have to get a development agreement put together at the council before a single penny in anything gets paid out. Would I like to see us keep working with the developer? Yes. Would I like to see them buy this building? Yes. But if they end up running it as a mall as it is right now, that caveat is on them. I mean, because if I think that the developer needs to realize there's a lot of skepticism. If this was a development agreement, I certainly wouldn't approve it today. Not with these terms. I wouldn't be on board with the development agreement whatsoever. If approving a term sheet helps them move forward with closing the deal, then I would be okay with the term sheet today.
Sound
Of course,
right?
the term sheet should reflect our intent.
Yes.
It does give us intent, but, you know, these numbers are going to be modified because we don't even know what numbers we're basing the assessment off of yet.
But based on that, we're still very well protected as the developer is really taking the stretch on this.
Language in the term sheet has a city with no legal obligation.
I don't know if we've had a chance at this point in time to assess the financial strength of the guarantors, which would be the LLC members, if Dawn has had their personal financials or.
We have not at this point, and I think that's one of the things that we do before we move forward with the development agreement, is getting those statements to allow her to go through those. You know, just based on just the initial glance of reputation and other projects that we've done and some communications with other communities that they've done, to us, that's vouched to get them to this point. And I think then, you know, before you ask somebody for personal financials, I mean,
Well, sure,
again,
I know that.
this back and forth, but this, yeah, that would be
I just
part of the
didn't know
process.
if they had come forward with it or not.
And I think that's, you know,
fine, but
we try and
it's got
say
to be part of
in our
the-
term sheets that,
Yes.
look, the equity, the, you know, strength of the developer, all those other things, like they need it's clear to them that they need to overcome that burden.
That's fine.
I think the key to this term sheet is the 10% of debt service. That takes a lot of the risk away from the city, so go ahead, Tom, can you make the motion, go ahead.
Well, I'll just make a motion to approve as presented with the understanding, well, it goes without saying, this is only the sheet, term sheet, so make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Tom, second by Gary, then to proceed with the approval for the term sheet with some caveats that we installed with the Lexington Rudy International for the Easttown Mall development. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. What number are we on here? 7? Consideration with possible action on a request to approve the term sheet with the Broadway Events LLC for the Outdoor Event Center at 100 West Mason Street, tax parcel 2-78. Kevin, you're in charge.
All right,
Keep it up.
now for something completely different. Is that rock and roll like that? All right, so I wanted to talk to you today about what we're going to be calling the shipyard.
Oh.
And what it is, it's a comprehensive redevelopment proposal for the South Broadway slip, also known as the Greenfield, but we know it's not a Greenfield, neighborhood. And what this is, to bring to you a comprehensive proposal for not just an outdoor event center, but a redevelopment strategy for that entire neighborhood. And what I want to do is go through, if you want to hit the next slide, and just talk about, this is the area on which we're focusing. And there's 4 pieces of this neighborhood that I'd like to talk through today. There's some other individuals here who want to speak about some of those parts specifically. But again, this is our goal to get something more comprehensive in terms of invigorating and catalyzing development in that neighborhood.
So are you saying, Kevin, that we're looking at more than just the site?
We're looking at more than just the site. All right, I just clicked this. So we're going to talk about 4 pieces. The south side is where we're going to look at having a multi-purpose outdoor events center. The north side is where we're going to look at a high-density, medium to high-density residential development. The Broadway core is where we're going to look at some mixed-use development and especially dealing with some major catalyst sites that we have in here. And then the western section of this is dealing with the neighborhood. So just to orient you, map's on its side here, so north is this way. Here's Broadway, here's the Mason Street Bridge. And what I want to do is go through it in just a little bit more depth, talk about each of these strategic areas in which we're going to be investing. The first, the south, and the real catalyst for pushing this forward is the Outdoor Events Center. And again, we've talked a little bit about, how do we, re-picture, how do we rebrand this area into something more forward?
Sorry.
It's all right. Used to it going dark on me. And what we've talked about is bringing forth something known as the shipyard. I think it pays respect to our industrial heritage, it pays respect to our waterfront, but it's also a place that we can start to brand part of a new district for the city of Green Bay. And with this, we have this outdoor event center, and again, we're working with Big Top Baseball. I think the term sheet identifies Broadway Events LLC. We do have representatives from Big Top here today, Connor and Vern. They're in the audience here, and I just want to show a little bit what they're doing, and then if you'll allow them to just kind of talk a little bit about what we have here, what's changed from the last time, and again, why we feel this is the right partnership to move forward with this event center. Again, the complex has grown a little bit in terms of providing some additional amenities here. I think the big thing that you'll find is, in addition to this outdoor event center, we're going to have, as mentioned in the term sheet, 2 separate, potentially standalone pieces. One is a full-service restaurant, and the other is an indoor performance venue. We also have some individuals here today who can speak on their plans to be part of this future project, and they'll be available to speak as well. So I don't know if you guys want to just talk a little bit about, the proposal, what you guys have been working on. And
Motion.
Sure.
Motion by Tom, second by Matt.
Second.
Open the meeting for public discussion. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, gentlemen, step forward.
Appreciate having you here. RDA, it's good to be back.
Can we have your names, please? for
Connor
the-
Caloya, the Chief Operating Officer for Big Top Baseball.
Vern Stedman, the president of Big Top Baseball.
We're the owners and operators of the Green Bay Bullfrogs. We also own Northwoods League franchises in Kenosha, Wisconsin Rapids, and Madison. And then we operate a year-round outdoor event center in Madison as well. So what we're proposing here is an outdoor space that can be used about 180 days out of the year. I know, there's a baseball element to this, but baseball is just 36, those 180 days. We'd also own and operate and bring a minor league soccer team there. On the field, we'd be looking to program, 4 to 6 large-scale concerts, between 5,000 and 8,000 people on an annual basis. We think it's a great facility to do community events. Like I mentioned, we operate a similar facility in Madison. This year, we've programmed 180 events already in that facility. And, we also have representatives here from Green Bay Area Public Schools, and West High School would be using this facility about 90 days out of the year. So the facility and the stadium, not much has changed there. We are increasing our financial commitment over the 20-year term of the lease. But what we have for you today is a more comprehensive development plan that will allow this space to be used 365 days out of the year. In addition to the stadium, we'll have a year-round restaurant and then an indoor concert venue that can hold up to 2,000 people that will allow this parcel to be programmed year-round.
And we really see this as something that's going to create, like Kevin mentioned before, an entertainment district, a destination that's beyond just baseball. Our proposal was never just baseball. It was always baseball, soccer, all kinds of athletics, large-scale concerts. Now, as we sit here today, it's the restaurant and the concert venue, the 2,000-person indoor concert venue. One of the cool things about this is that it's a completely unique project. You start with arguably the best site you can imagine for a baseball stadium, with this location, with the way it interacts with the Fox River, the inlet coming in what would be the left field corner, the opportunity for baseballs to interact with the water, all that stuff is fun. But then when you partner it with these other pieces, and the indoor concert venue, for instance, actually has a balcony built inside of it, or would have a balcony built inside of it, that would allow you to see both the baseball field and the concerts. So it would really, make this a destination, not just in the summer, but year-round. Having concerts primarily in the September through May timeframe, probably be some summer indoor concerts as well, but most of the time we're going to be looking in that kind of non-summer timeframe is going to be the more popular time for those kinds of events. So you see that view there. That venue right there, based on the research we've done, no one has ever done anything like this. No one's ever built a concert venue that interacts with an athletic facility or multi-purpose athletic facility in the way that this one does. And we like the idea that this project is kind of breaking some new ground, and we're really proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish in working with Kevin Vonk and some other great partners here in the community.
So with that, I think one of the things, and if you want to talk a little bit more about specifics, I don't know. Would you like to, come forward and just talk a little bit more about the other two structural components of this?
A couple of partners that we've been working with. One has been a part of this project since we kind of started the discussion back in the winter, spring of last year. And that's Anduzzi's, and I know that they're here, and that would be the restaurant piece. So Anduzzi's is the first time that this is kind of becoming a public piece of the discussion, and I think maybe they can speak a little bit to the restaurant and their interest in this location.
Yeah, I'm Lisa Szymanski.
I'm Andy Szymanski.
I think that where Anduzzi's interest lies is really, we've watched the community of Green Bay develop some very interesting projects come to light over the last number of years. We've watched the Larson Green project really take off on that side of the community. We're watching what's happening in the Titletown district. This project seemed very appealing to us in that it is the continued development of the community. It's got a very interesting twist to it, if you will, that we feel is a sweet spot for a business like Anduzzi's. We've been entrenched in the community for 17 years. We've got 3 very successful businesses here. We feel like the family atmosphere environment that all of this pulls together makes a great deal of sense, and we're just very interested in exploring being a part of that.
Anduzzi's kind of bases itself on, it's a sports-themed restaurant, so you take Big Top Baseball, what they're trying to do in terms of the baseball piece of it, and other sporting events that they anticipate taking place down there. In addition to the interaction with the community, you look at our Howard location, the East Side location, it's really important that we integrate into the communities. And the city's proposal to invest in the neighborhoods and the homes in that area is one of the components that makes it very attractive to us, because that creates a sustainability for us. So as those neighborhoods grow and prosper and revitalize, it creates a great balance for us, allowing us to be the sports-themed restaurant and the connection to the sports and the homes in the neighborhoods and the communities. So we feel it's a great bridge for everybody.
Again, from our, development team perspective, we feel, again, these symbiotic partnerships that, can benefit, a restaurant partner that will benefit when the stadium's open, but then also, the more events we can get in there, the better for them. But then also, just, again, extending that time period that this piece of property is used when you have a year-round destination like that. I think there's a lot of good interplay with that. And again, to have a location, wedged between a sports facility and the waterfront, is a real ideal location and a great opportunity for us to really, kind of capitalize on this great site location.
I just have a question. How committed are you to the project? I mean, have you gone, not contractually committed, but from yourself to wanting to develop this, or is this very new to you?
Committed to community, committed to the neighborhoods, absolutely. Okay, until we continue to work through the details more, it's early in the process for us. Okay, it's been, as you're aware, this has kind of evolved over the whole summer, and the dynamics have changed significantly. But we've seen the city do great things so far, whether it's the city deck projects, the Larson Green area that's got a great synergy up there. We believe this is going to be the South Corridor Broadway, and eventually these two are going to connect to each other and grow. So we're very excited about the opportunity.
How long of a time have you been in any discussion with the developers?
9 months, 8
Okay,
months,
so
something like that.
okay. So it's not, that answers my question. It's not brand new to you.
Not this morning,
just
no.
brought. If it was the developers, but it's been known that the developer goes out.
They didn't swing by and pick us up on the way.
Be there and then there.
If I can clarify too, when we first came to the RDA and when we first launched this project, it did mention a restaurant, and that restaurant was indeed, Anduzzi's. We were very initial in our initial letter of intent and term sheet. So they've been the only restaurant we've considered, only restaurant we've had discussions with, and they're the group we want to work with.
And we hadn't worked through last year, or last time, I guess, exactly where and how it was best going to work. As we've gone out and done our research and learned more about what's happening in athletic facilities around the country, this is what's happening. They're bringing in, restaurants, they're bringing in housing, and they're making them interact with these facilities to create more value and catalyze development around these facilities and help make it all make sense, basically, and really make it more of a destination. And as we started to play with how we made all this come together, we realized that it was more important to create a project that was going to be more interesting. And by bringing in Anduzzi's and a great local ownership that they would bring, and the great product, that's one big step towards that goal, I guess. And the next part, unless there's any other questions on the Anduzzi's part, I can get into.
I think just one thing.
Comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but part of the things that we've talked with, with Szymanski's, I think we're at the part, and the reason for bringing this forward now is that, again, the appetite for the RDA and the city to do something that, they've shown their commitment to the project. We're at a point now where, okay, now we actually would start talking about logistics and legalities of, is it a build-out and a lease? Is it a separate tax parcel? Are they doing the building? And just, talking about a lot of those details.
Right.
Doesn't make sense for us to go forward if there's not a commitment from us to, look at this project. So that's, I think where we're kind of at in terms of that commitment. We're moving from just, all right, I'm interested in this idea, to, all right, the details of how we make this work.
And Andy and Lisa, in regard to this Anduzzi's, are you thinking about this as, this is a property that's open on the days when there's activities going on here? Or is this another year-round facility?
It would be your own facility.
I would just mention too, you probably remember from the original renderings, the restaurant was on the other side of the channel. And the Szymanski's actually had suggested partnering and getting on that same site. So as far as, we would see it on the city side, is that there's actual some tax base that'll be on this parcel of land that would have had none originally. So From that point, once that suggestion was made, it was just a matter of getting the developers and the Smanskys together to determine if they could work something out, because if they're competing with concerts or if they're competing with ticket sales or concessions, the fast food, that kind of a thing. So they really needed to do a lot of work in the last 6 months behind the scenes for us to get to the point now where they come forward.
For the folks at Big Top, what's the distance down the left field line for the wall?
Left field, I think, is short. I think it's less than 300 feet to left field, which again is kind of a
So the
trend.
water is reachable?
Oh, yeah, certainly. And the water around all sides of the outfield.
I could not. Out of the infield, Tom, that's why I work for a living.
And so the field is a little bit bigger to right field, as you can see, with the soccer field kind of superimposed on there. So that, I think we're probably 330 to the right field side.
Okay. It's just be interesting, right, because it starts to create a little bit of the San Francisco
Yep.
Pac-Bell
Certainly.
ballpark and
Right.
bring in the water into
Kayaks.
play and kayaks.
Yep,
and- yeah.
yep.
So I guess, do you want to talk about the other piece then?
Yeah,
The
so-
indoor concert
so-
band? Thank you.
Thanks to Andy and Lisa for taking their time to talk a little bit about this. We've been working with them, like we said, behind the scenes for a while. And today was the first day they were public. Today is the first day that the outdoor event center and connected to the concert venue is public as well. And we're, also very excited about our partner that would be developing and owning the indoor concert venue, a 2,000-person indoor concert venue would be Mark Skogan. And there's a letter that he shared with us today. He was hoping to make this meeting, but was unable to. I believe he'll be available for future meetings for sure. But as some of you may know, Mark has a very strong love of music and has been exploring possible indoor concert venues over the last year for him to purchase individually. To be clear, this is something that Mark would be doing personally, not through festival. Through his analysis and in our partnership with him in multiple markets, we've been talking with him about this venue, and he's basically come to the conclusion that he thinks that this location is the best of all the possibilities out there to build a brand-new indoor concert venue that would be really completely unique within the city of Green Bay. If the 2,000-person capacity is somewhat different than the other venues that are out there, this is definitely not something that's going to compete with other venues. It's going to attract a different type of artist, a different scale of artists than other venues might. The floor plan is very open. It's not a theater-style seating area at all. It's basically a flat floor at ground level with that elevated balcony with a total capacity of 2,000, like I said, and the unique ability to interact with the baseball stadium. So we think this is another great piece that adds to the tax base, of course, and just continues to make this an interesting destination.
Yeah, and I think just the way, it's designed, it can be used on game day, it can be used separately.
Certainly.
I mean, I think we have a lot of pieces here in place that can be used in a variety of different ways. Again, at the end of the day, in terms of that push to make this more comprehensive, it's our goal to be pushing this piece of the puzzle to a spot that's used 365 days of the year.
How did you and Mark Skogan link up?
So we've been partners with Mark, both with our team here in Green Bay. Festival's a sponsor of our team in Green Bay, Kenosha, Madison, and so we've gotten to develop a friendship with him over the last 3 years probably now. And as we investigated and learned about the Green Bay market, honestly, from day one, from the day we purchased the team, the Green Bay Bullfrogs, about 3 years ago now, we sat down with Mark within the first week of purchasing this team and started picking his brain about what we had to do to make it work and how we could work together with him in both the short term and the long term. And at that point, slowly over time, I think he indicated his interest to us in live music, and then this concept kind of came together.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
So, I think we've touched, pretty well and just, again, the variety of events that are going to be occurring at this particular facility. And so, with that, this was kind of our project last time, kind of stopped at the south end. And I just would like to kind of go through in terms of just touching on some of these other points and then having some discussion about how this all fits together of, the other pieces of this. Across from the slip on the north side, looking at the opportunity for a medium to high density residential project. we've been in talks with a number of developers for building a residential complex here. We feel very solid about 2 of them, and we can discuss some more of those details if we go into closed session about where those negotiations are at. Feeling this parcel itself, it's about 5 acres developable, could fit anywhere from 120 to maybe 160 units on here, and could be a mix of both market rate, and you look at the interface with the water, but then also workforce housing. You know, in terms of, you know, we've done a lot of market rate projects here, but it's also important for us to making sure that, you know, with our workforce here, that they also have places to live, walk to work downtown. So this is something that we're looking at here. You know, again, in terms of scale and density, we're probably going to be looking at, you know, in order to save on construction costs, something in that kind of 2 to 4 story range, and again, maybe 120 to 160 units total on this here. Along Broadway, the potential for mixed-use residential, as you can see, the 2 biggest parcels here that we have good opportunities on, Badger Sheet Metal, which is about 5 acres when you add it all up, so it's actually a pretty significant size development site. And then I guess I call it the White Store. I'm sure people have other names for it. That Brown County is leasing some space in. There's some scattered smaller parcels, you know, for some smaller scale development in terms of what you see further on Broadway. But those 2 anchors are significant pieces of which we feel, you know, can be developed. And again, here we're looking at that scale, and I think we want to approach a scale that, you know, we get the density, but also fits with Broadway. And that, you know, you look at Larson on the north end of the cannery buildings, you know, that 3 to 5 story, you know, brick kind of industrial feel fits in with this neighborhood. And I think you know, respect the character of Broadway and do it in a way that really fits in and complements all the other things that are going around along here. Then the final piece basically talks about the neighborhood. And a neighborhood that, you know, we feel as a city, you know, is underperforming and hasn't met its full potential. And so I just want to take a few minutes and let Cheryl kind of talk about, because this is her expertise, about some things that we could maybe, the history and where we could be going with this neighborhood.
Okay, so you're probably all familiar with this neighborhood because we've been working in it for a long time. Staff went out actually and did a survey of this pocket here, and it's a solid neighborhood. There's a number of owners that are still in the neighborhood. And if you remember, we vacated 6th Street a while back and did a number of Habitat homes, 9 of them at one time. So when we looked at this area, and this is Broadway down here, we really felt we wanted to keep the fabric of this neighborhood the way it was, promoting single-family home ownership. So we would go in, much like we did with the Navarino neighborhood, and kind of find the challenged areas, maybe take those out individually and reconvert those, either remove them, rebuild them, or rehab them. We think there's some opportunity for some maybe townhome type development on the backside of the Broadway properties that has some potential that way, but otherwise we would go into that with the funds that we have right now that are available to us and continue to work really in the neighborhood we've been in. We have neighborhood enhancement dollars, and those are the funds that are provided by council. And hopefully will continue to be provided, which will allow us to do market rate development in that neighborhood. Then we also have our federal programs, Block Grant and Home, which will allow us to do that same type of development. And then neighborhood stabilization, we've got the ability to do one more of those, which is another home ownership initiative. So we do have resources, those exist today to do the redevelopment in that neighborhood now.
I think just, I mean, also some additional partners, you know, who we worked with before in terms of making this neighborhood work. You know, like Cheryl said, I mean, there's a lot of potential and a lot of upside to this. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things, as we start, again, putting these pieces back together, you know, it's a redevelopment authority in the city leading with this catalyst piece that says, yeah, we care about this neighborhood, we're going to be investing in this neighborhood, mm-hmm. but strategically focusing, you know, efforts on getting a high quality development here, working on these catalyst sites, and then, you know, strategically working in a neighborhood. You know, I think we go in and we work, you know, house by house, parcel by parcel, but if we can take a little bit of that and just do a target focus, that's when you get, you know, kind of that critical mass that says, all right, yeah, this neighborhood is turning, and it's coming to a place, you know, where we can feel that it's stable and growing. And, you know, our goal is, you know, we think with all of these pieces in place, this could really become, you know, the next up and coming neighborhood for the city. And I think you do it in a way that you also have a housing stock where it's up and coming, but still affordable. Mm-hmm. And that is, those working, when you look at, those in manufacturing or in education, or, we looked at just City Hall itself, and in terms of here, the ability to live and walk and play in a really great mixed-use environment. So with that, yeah, go ahead.
Kevin, are you looking at this as 4 separate projects?
So
would South and North be combined into one?
So what we look at is yes and no. One, we're taking this, right. The term sheet before you today is looking at the first piece of this, and that is for the outdoor event center. And I feel by leading with this, this is the critical node that makes us move forward with or without some of these other things. I think it's a lot harder to get a development on this north side if we don't have something here. I feel if it were, we would have had something here by now. But I think, and I've said this before, in terms of developers or investors are uncertain of what's the future of this area and what's the future of this neighborhood. I don't want to be, the best house on the block, more or less, and I don't want to put my money in here if this is still going to stay like it is. So leading with this is piece number 1, and I think with this piece, if the RDA and the city have a desire to move forward with that, generally, and I've talked with Connor and Vern about, some of these multifamily development projects, usually you put in the stadium and 2 to 3 years later, you get the housing development. I think we're a lot closer than that and probably realistically can have something next year or 2018. So I think we shorten that timeline, but it's, again, looking for that commitment from the city. The same thing with these 2 redevelopment parcels of, this is the year that we're starting to push Broadway a little further north and a little further south. And then with these pieces going, a very opportune time to put some investment back in that neighborhood, saying, look, yeah, this is going to be a solid strategic neighborhood. So I think, with that, we're going to see different pieces of this come forward. This is to put it together and just say, look, this is our strategy for doing that. And today, before you, that first piece, that's what the focus is on.
The first piece, Kevin, really isolates to the stadium itself, not to the event center, and although it's mentioned, and the restaurant.
It would include those pieces. I think what it identifies in there is those are potential parts of this project. And I think the details to be worked out, is that something that we build and do a lease, or it's built in a separate taxable parcel. I think the reason we want them in, however it works out, they're potential additional sources of revenue. That at the end of the day, it's proposed that, like the KI Convention Center, the Redevelopment Authority would be the one responsible for moving forward on this. And I think, I guess maybe just talk about, the term sheet a little bit, is that the RDA would be the property owner. The proposal here is to put $8 million towards construction, with then the commitments from not necessarily a developer, but an operator or a manager, like we have the relationship, right now with the KI and the Hyatt in terms of management agreement, for the operator to provide $1 million up front and a 20-year lease at $225,000 a year. And I think that's what's kind of before us here today with, we wanted to bring in the restaurant piece and the concert piece, saying, yeah, those might be maybe side agreements or other pieces of it to still be figured out. But, since we started talking about this, those 2 have kind of organically really sprung up, and I think, again, help make this more of a year-round destination.
But without, is there a way, or we need to, in some way, satisfy, I don't think the project stands very strong without those 2 components. It just doesn't go anywhere. So how do we tie that into the agreement with the stadium owners? Pardon?
They're listed individually.
They're listed.
Right.
But no commitment. It's just that you've given the management group the right to lease.
Correct. I think maybe, depending how you want to interpret this term sheet here, or there's some language that you would want to add, that this moves forward dependent on successful negotiation of these 2 pieces.
I didn't see that here.
Okay.
That's
Kevin, will the ship channel stay?
Yes. If you look at, let me just go back to the channel itself.
Yeah.
So right now, we are actually working with Fox River Cleanup, Tetra Tech, in terms of that. There are contaminants in here. The plan is to basically go in, cap these, It will no longer be able to be used for commercial use. You're not going to be putting the Laker in there anymore. But we'll reinforce and have a solid vertical wall here, much like parts of the city deck or the west side. So boats will be able to come right up to the shore. This wall is failing, so it's good for us to get in and restabilize that. And then it will be capped off at low water, mean low water level. There will still be a depth of 6 to 8 feet. So plenty of water still for pleasure craft to get in and out. There's also some flexibility.
There would
should
be
we wanna
access
put-
for pleasure craft.
Correct, yep, to go in here, or you want, there's room enough to put floating docks in, and, or the kayaks to catch the balls out in the outfield. But that is ongoing right now, and that is going to happen moving forward, just because the Cleanup Authority is interested in moving forward with their project. And that puts us in a good spot that we can't really do much with this site until this basically wall is stabilized and leaves us in a good spot for.
But they're gonna allow capping in there, and they're not in the rest of the river they're having to dredge. So they'll allow you to cap that?
They will be able to cap that in here because there's sufficient depth to do that, and because it's not in the channel. If they were to, I'm going to do too much, if they were to take it out, you actually have to cut back into the bank and take away some of this, and it's a lot bigger project.
Well, I like capping better. That's disturbance.
So I guess just in summary, bring this back together in terms of what we're talking about here. I think, the directive last time we talked about this was to bring back something more comprehensive. I think we as staff and working, the potential operator and, working with internally wanted to bring something that I think captures what that directive was. And, we believe in putting something forward that we really think is going to create, this great district. We really feel it's going to help solidify our downtown. I get questions a lot, what's next? How do we keep on cutting edge? How do we keep competitive for what we're doing in the race? I look at it, this is my ED hat, to attract talent. And getting people to come here and stay here and making sure that we have those amenities that people are flocking to cities to go to. Are we doing our part to do things here? And I think we offer a product or are doing something that is, one, unique to the area itself, that we're not duplicating something that we already have, but two, we're making something unique that really doesn't exist in a lot of places. And I think that was one of the reasons, we initially started talking about this site is there's nothing really like it. And so to be able to offer something there, it's not just good for our downtown, but we really feel kind of good for a community as a whole.
Have you had any wild guess on the northern project, the housing project, and even across the street on increment that you're going to be bringing to that neighborhood in your best dreams?
On that we would be developing?
Yes.
Yes. I have some, I've talked with Alderman Moore a little bit about that. I don't know if you want to go into, in closed sessions, I've projected some potential pro formas and projections. I think, one of those things, I would like to share that with the RDA and get some feedback on that before we, move forward with what some of those values
I would like to, because
might be.
just the numbers as they sit,
Yep.
it's a little hard.
Yeah, and again, I would like to be open in terms of just, here's where I came, and I think, talking with our, team, and just, I think we're in a good place to, project something with that. Just before I close, I don't know, I think the floor was still open. I don't know if there was anyone else. I think you guys might have had a few people who wanted to, speak about this project.
I had a question.
Sure.
First, there is a quorum of the council here, so if anybody wanted to talk before we go to closed session, everybody should hear if anybody wants to, but I'm interested in our new director of On Broadway over there. Obviously, I know that in personal conversations, you've been supportive of this, but you've been hearing from other business owners, and what's the general discussion?
Yeah, so our board of directors has actually taken a vote on this to publicly support the project. I think, Kevin, I appreciate your level of preparation on this project and what you brought to the table here, because you've actually addressed the big thing that we wanted to see as a district, which was development on the south end. Our district boundaries go all the way to Mason Street. So this particular site is fully encompassed within, with the exception of the west neighborhood, which quite honestly, I could even see our Love Here, Live Here campaign extending into that area, because a big part of what we're trying to address there is a residential neighborhood that can contribute to the success of the district as well. And so a lot of our Love Here, Live Here campaign currently resides outside of our district boundaries, but obviously includes residents that contribute to the success of our district. So when you look at, for us, we kind of look at our district, and there's a couple of things that we look at, and I think we're looking for two major anchor points. And right now, you've got discussion obviously occurring with DDL Holdings, and we're very excited about some of the things that are going on there. We look at that as our northern anchor point. The southern anchor point we knew is needed something. The outdoor event center is something that the board has, again, publicly, unanimously taken a vote on to support, and you'll have our letter of commitment on that for the council meeting on Tuesday, contingent upon the outcome here. So we think that this is only going to extend the development down through the district. You know, the one thing that we've kind of challenged ourselves is, if this project does occur, is how do you take that traffic that's coming into this part of the district and get it to migrate throughout? And I think, you know, there's certainly some challenges in front of us there. We've got some ideas that we have not brought forth to the city yet, but that we're going to have those discussions when the time's appropriate.
We have to close the.
Yeah, Alderman Zuma, some folks in the back.
Hello, RDA members. My name is Barbara Goldos, and I chair the Young Professional Advisory Council. We are a committee of the Greater Green Bay Chamber's current program that engages young professionals civically.
And I'm Kasha Huntowski, the vice chair of YPAC. And we have some letters of endorsement from our group, just letting you know that the young professionals of our area are very interested in this project and think it would be great to help retain talent and to get new, younger professionals to want to move into the area. So I'm going to hand these out.
Yep. We were approached a few months ago by Big Top to ask us for our feedback, what young professionals would think of having an outdoor events center on Broadway. And after much conversation and research, we feel as though this public-private partnership would certainly redevelop an underutilized corridor, make it possible as a catalyst for development, and offer an amenity to attract, recruit, and engage young professionals in the area. And we're asking that you support it as well.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Sure.
Hi, my name is Tim Flood. I'm representing the Green Bay School District today. I just want to let you know that we've worked with Big Top before. I work at Green Bay East, and we've got a relationship with Joanna Stadium with them. And it's a great relationship. It's grown. They came to us and asked us our feedback about the proposed Bullfrogs Stadium and how the school district may be able to utilize it. And we talked, and what we've talked about is Green Bay West High School using that stadium for home football games, for their boys soccer and girls soccer games, and then along with practices there as a field turf facility. Currently, their field, they have one field, and it gets pretty beat up every year due to grass. It's a grass field, and it's multiple users on that. And we've been looking as a district to build the field turf stadiums in each one of our high schools. And this is a great opportunity for the Green Bay High School students and community to be able to use a field turf stadium with a partnership that we would have with them. So we just, as a school district, I know that you have a letter of endorsement from Associate Superintendent Kim Paulo in support of the project, and I just want to kind of let you know that where we're at, and it's exciting, and I know the several that know about it in the West community are very excited also about the opportunity.
It's a very interesting concept.
Yes.
I live a block away from West Hyatt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
yeah.
So,
oh, that's great.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm Sean Cassine, president of Joannes Park Neighborhood Association, where Joannes Stadium resides in the park. Earlier this year, when this proposal came up in front of you guys, you found that Joannes Park resisted it pretty hard, the neighborhood association itself. Through that was a knee-jerk reaction And we realized that after the fact, and we sat down and rediscussed it all summer long about it. And we withdraw the fact that, we were against the Bullfrogs moving downtown, okay, out of the Joanna Stadium. We looked at it in a little different light. We do have neighborhood people that do utilize the Bullfrogs as an entertainment, that they walk to the facility. So, I mean, those people are still gonna hit with Ram's Head on it. But the board itself, the 9 that we have, even coming through an election that we just did in July, has changed their opinion about it and believe that this is something that they need to do for growth. It's not going to be necessarily something positive for our community, our neighborhood, because it is going to take the stadium and leave it stand. We do understand that there's other proposals for use of the stadium. We're just concerned about making sure that the city, on the city level, stays obligated to making sure that that stadium stays in Joannes. That park will be turning 100 years old, 2019. That's a year before the Parks Department turns 100 years old. That baseball has been played in there when it was Washington Park, namesake to Washington Middle School. So it's very important that we see sports being played there. Okay, City Stadium is already there. It's very important for us to see that field stand there. It's the first baseball field in the city of Green Bay. So it's something to think about when you're making this choice. But we do understand it. We don't support looking for money in a different aspect, of it, but we do support the move that we do understand that the Bullfrogs do have to grow. They are a business. So we'd like to withdraw the fact that we kind of butted heads about it with a little bit, but, we want to be big enough to say that we were wrong about it and that the Bullfrogs need to look at another facility that's much bigger than what we are. So, thank you.
Well, really, thank you for your comments, very important.
Yep.
You were nodding your head when he was talking about the neighborhood, and that's your...
We've had a lot of talks with the Parks Department, and they're waiting to use the stadium. There's a list of uses for the existing Joanne Stadium. I don't think you're going to have any problem with it.
No, we see it now too. We've talked to a bunch of the other organizations, and we do see that there are enlisting uses of that park. Even the neighborhood association has entertained some thoughts. We do a music in the park that happens, and we could possibly even pump that up to a concert rather than a festival. So using the stadium, as long as we can figure out how to use the field without tearing the turf up that's there now. So I mean, there's something of that thing to do, that the neighborhood association is actually looking at.
Good comment.
Anybody else would like to talk?
Alderman Zimmer.
Alderman Zimmer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I originally asked for money for Broadway, what is it, 15, 16 years ago, my original request was that we upgrade Broadway from Mather Street all the way to 9th Street. And of course, I'm interested in having that become a better place for people to live in, better place for people to shop in, whatever. But, so I'm glad to see that they put the component of some housing and rehabilitating neighborhoods. The last time I was here, they really had, that wasn't going to be part of the TIF district. Now, I don't know, we had a disadvantage. Do you have some numbers? Were there any numbers put in this thing?
With regards to neighborhoods?
No, I'm talking about the whole thing.
The term sheet, it doesn't have the term sheet.
Sure, and those are some of the things in discussion with Alderman Moore in terms of just...
Well, Mr. Vonk, you didn't say anything about money.
Sure. In terms of numbers for potential revenue, potential...
Well, you're the Economic Development Director. Please proceed and tell us what the costs are associated, what you're hoping for, etc.
Sure. Those are some of the things in just discussing with Alderman Moore, because we're in the still process of negotiation. I would like to talk about those in closed session first before we talk about those with the public in terms of laying out where my assumptions are at and potential agreements that may be coming part of that, and that is something that I would be very willing to lay out.
I think the public has a right to know what the economics of it is.
Well, the numbers were up as far as the lease terms and the commitment from the city. That was up already.
You showed me about this one thing. I don't know what the cost, what's the total investment that's going to be invested. They said just $1 million. I don't know, you're going to build an event, a ball diamond and an event center for less than we were talking about before?
So the initial, for the south side of the slip, we would be looking still at $9 million to create the outdoor events center.
Well, we had a long discussion at the Finance Committee about that, and it didn't seem adequate.
It is adequate.
Well, I'd be interested in seeing that.
Okay.
Maybe you can, I think that's public, it should be public information. And I don't know, you might understand that the Anduzzi's project is the north side of the slip?
Nope. Anduzzi's and the concert venue would all be in the south side of the slip.
Okay, and what's in the north?
North would be medium to high density residential, 120 to 160 units of housing.
Okay. There was people interested in putting some condos on that boat slip, 15 years ago or so, but, you know, the coal piles were a problem, et cetera. The coal piles are all going to remain then?
For the time being, there is no plan to move the coal piles.
And the other thing we discussed in the first round here was satisfying the parking needs, and one of your members did speak to that, but you haven't given any of the details about that.
Correct. Developers in the first time through did go out and kind of put together some numbers about where parking could occur. You know, they've been very successful. I think one of the things they look at, if you know Brees Stevens Field in Madison, very urban location, probably more urban than this, and they've worked to have partnerships with other businesses to use parking off peak times. I think they've identified a number of places where we could have some of the same agreements here. Also looking just, you know, initial review in terms of Public Works and traffic flow, it seems to work out. In terms of moving people in and out of here. I think one of the things that we would talk about if the city is interested in moving forward would be to secure up a formal parking plan based on the different type size of events. And I think they're committed to doing that, but putting all those agreements together and doing all those things, you know, taking the effort, again, just the reason for the term sheet is to get some indication, is the city interested in doing this before we go do all this work of laying up all these potential agreements. With that, I mean, just given the urban area, I also think there's a lot of opportunity, you know, developing this neighborhood to get here by foot, bicycle, and I think to, you know, Director Johnson in terms of expanding the footprint of Broadway, that not everybody will just come and park at the stadium like they do at Joanne's, that you can park at various establishments up and down Broadway, and what forms of transportation could we have to move people up and down that district?
What does the present drawing show for parking that the city would be building along with the developer?
On-site parking?
300, I think, 300 to 350, pending final.
Well, that moved up. That's an improvement. That was, what was it, 148 before? How does 300 fit with, you're talking about capacity of 3,500 people?
Depending on, again.
What is it, 1 for 4, or what's the formula?
So if I may, I mean, the standard, different municipalities work, it's normally 1 spot for every 5, but the conditional use here, I believe, is 1 to 4. So we, you know, previously, or we've got about 300 spots tied directly to it, another, I think it's 655 off-street, and then we would, you know, have agreements with other businesses in the area that we've already contacted and had discussions with about that. I mean, traditionally, these parking plans are conditions of our lease, and so we wouldn't be able to have a lease agreement with the facility until we do have a comprehensive parking plan that is approved by the city. And that'd be something we'd be willing to provide, or more than happy to talk to you a one-off further about.
Well, that was a bugaboo. And, you know, so you're talking about housing and, not housing, but apartment development on the north side. The Broadway yellow, what is that?
We look at just extending more of what's on Broadway right now. That is mixed use, retail, restaurant, entertainment uses on the first floor with potential housing above. I think there's big enough sites there to also have a semi-decent size office complex as part of that as well. The 2 big pieces on there, Badger Sheet Metal, which is about 5 acres, and the White Store, which is about 2.
Are there people involved in this whole big project?
Those are probably...
You have some people already there?
Those are probably the furthest off in terms of negotiations and interest. And I think I talked about just in terms of projections, I would anticipate those would kind of be in the third phase, with the first phase being the event center, the second phase congruently the north side of the slip and the neighborhood, and then the third phase based on that, those two particular sites. I think there's...
How do you plan on developing TIF dollars to develop that Broadway and the west site, which are the neighborhood parts of it? That was one of my main interests, that the neighborhoods were not left out. I see they're not left out, but are they realistically involved here?
So
is this something that really has a decent chance of happening?
So we would not use, most likely, not use TID for single-family housing development. We could consider it for part of the multifamily, but I think Cheryl feels confident with her team in terms of the numbers, the money that we do have right now in our existing programs, that we could, again, target some of these investments to make enough impact without impacting a lot of the other stuff that we're doing.
So that's totally separate from this project then?
Separate but tied to this. And I
Tied
think
to it
one of the
what,
things...
just by words? I mean, what's it tied to with dollars?
Right now, we've committed $480,000 for 2017.
Those are all our neighborhood enhancement funds, which I have no problem using them. I'm the guy that promoted them.
Sure.
You know, our mayor put nothing in that fund for 4 years, but we got $1 million and what was it, 500,000 or so last budget? So that's something that has to be replenished. There has to be some commitment.
And this would only be $200,000 out of that neighborhood enhancement. The other would be working with our block grant funds, home funds, neighborhood stabilization funds, all other federal pass-through
What would be the
programs.
total invested in that big area that you're talking about?
So in 3 years, close to...
480,000 or something, or what is it?
In 3 years, close to $1 million.
3 years, $1 million. So that's, what does that amount to? Are we talking about 20 properties?
Well, you know,
Talking about
yeah.
15 properties? There's a lot of, how many properties are in that entire area there?
So there are...
Not that they're all bad, they
Sure.
aren't.
Right.
There's
Right.
14 parcels.
There's a lot of good properties.
Of that, there's 103 parcels. 14 of those parcels we could consider for townhome-style development. The other 89 parcels are single-family homes. We anticipate that over the span of 15 years, we could probably hit 60 to 80% of those.
Went too fast for me.
Okay. 89 single-family homes in there. Over 15 years, we anticipate we could probably tackle or impact 60 to 80% of those over 15 years. I think it'll be faster, but realistically, I mean, over that, that's a long period of time.
Require the council to commit to putting money in the bond issue every year.
I am hoping that with a first 3 years, I mean, this is would be using existing funds. I mean, this is squeezing out
I understand, we got that left over.
Correct. This would be I think you could commit to this type of impact, of a 3-year impact dollar amount, and then in 2019, you see what's happening and see where, if you need to invest. I mean, the hope is that this gets to a place where then just the market is taking over itself, and people are just going buying in and fixing them up, but get the ball rolling.
I just don't want the neighborhood improvement to be a shill for the rest of the project. I want it committed to that.
This is real, and if the council wants to make
real
a...
commitment.
Well, if you look at the end of the agenda, we actually are looking at acquiring a property down there because we continue to work down there, Guy. We've been working there.
We worked together for a long time.
That's right. So I'm telling you that as a neighborhood, we need to work in that neighborhood. I mean, this would be great to have this project. That would help that neighborhood a lot, I think.
You haven't showed any numbers. What's the private development? How much taxes is it going to provide to actually help us fund the things we want to do? And I guess that big yellow one there, or the Badger sheet metal one.
Right.
That it seems like part of it goes, how far does it go? To Ashland Avenue?
No, it goes back to, what's that, Chestnut, Maple?
Chestnut.
No, I'm just saying the green
Chestnut doesn't
part
go
there.
through, but.
The green part goes to
Oh, the green part goes back to
Green
Ashland.
part goes to Ashland.
And Broadway, you've got some leads on the Broadway portion of it?
We have some leads, but I would say they're much more preliminary than we have for the north side of the housing.
Well, I mean, that development would provide money.
Absolutely.
If there's somebody else doing it.
Yep.
So, I guess I'm interested in what the total investment is. You have private people that want to build, they're going to build on the site. Are they going to privately own that then? Or?
Yep.
Do you have the numbers on that?
I have some preliminary projections that.
Okay, so this is just a.
Closed session?
I just don't know why you're asking people to approve a term sheet when you don't have any of the numbers yet.
The intent is to go in closed session, Guy. The intent is to go
I
in closed.
understand, but I think if you're looking for that a boy, keep doing it, everybody can say that. You've got to develop it up. I don't think there's anybody uninterested in doing something like that if the numbers are correct.
And that's, I guess, what I'd like to do, because I don't want to show our cards yet in terms of ruining our future ability to negotiate any type of development agreement to get some of these moving. And so I think in terms of just showing what those projections are and what we may look at contributing towards an agreement, and then in the end of it, what's the total over the span of this, what's the potential income that we could have from this?
Well, I see they're talking about, the only thing different is they're talking about, it was mentioned, but there is a realistic thing about a soccer league coming in.
Yes.
And you've done your projections that is something people are going to be interested in?
Yes. And I think they have as well, that's growing demand.
Well, I don't understand this bit about West High School. They have Del Marcel Stadium, and I guess it gets wet at times, but, you can keep that, you could do something to improve drainage there or something. I'm baffled by why the school would want to abandon its own stadium that was money donated by the Del Marcel Trust to build it in the first place. So, I mean...
I don't think abandoned, I think they just are looking for options in terms of, I mean, I'm not gonna speak for school district, but you're constrained with space as it is, and just if you're going to grow or continue to, invest. When kids look around and see other high schools with, these types of facilities and see what they have there, the opportunity to have a type of facility like your peers, I think is very appealing. So I don't think, and I'll let Mr. Flood, respond to that I don't think using this says you're gonna abandon anything existing.
No, we wouldn't abandon it. The usage over there, if during the fall, especially in the fall, is quite a bit on their field. And between practices, because they have one practice.
They have soccer and football there.
Right, and they have multi-levels, and it's being used continuously. And by the end of the season, it gets pretty beat up. And what the district has been looking at is redoing all of the fields in Green Bay at the high school sites with field turf. And this was an option, an opportunity that came up for Green Bay West to utilize a field that would be there. And the other field would be there, it would be used for practices, it would be used for other things. But it would be a chance for that field to heal itself also and to be in better shape. And then with also using the other site. When it comes to WIA also, you can't host WIA events in the fall for soccer if you don't have a soccer-only facility or a field turf facility to use. So at this time, Green Bay East and Green Bay Preble and Green Bay West cannot host any fall soccer WIA tournaments. So we have to go off-site, either to Notre Dame or to Southwest, or we've used West Lapeer High School in the past. So we've gone.
Is there a roadblock for using those?
It's not our site. And we're losing
Well, it
revenue.
all belongs to the school district, doesn't it?
Not West Lapeer, not Notre Dame. We lose revenue that way.
Oh, it's explored. But anyway, so I guess I was interested in what the numbers are all about.
Okay, any more questions? I'd like a motion to return regular to business.
So moved.
Motion. Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye. Just comment on something real quick. Before the meeting started, Alderman Tom Duane called me, and he just wanted to make sure he knew that the RDA knew that he supports the project. As it was presented, he's home with the flu. So he wanted to be here, he wanted to speak in support of it.
Okay.
I know that he's also had some private meetings with Connor and Vern, so he's got the gist of the layout, he's got all the numbers. So.
All right.
Closed session?
Pardon?
I think we need to go to closed session.
Yeah, I would like to hear it.
I'll make a motion to go to closed session. Make a second.
Language? Yes. The authority may convene a closed session pursuant to sections 1985 1B Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating and negotiating the sale of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting unspecified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene an open session pursuant to section 1985 2 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session.
All right, Terry Meyer. Yes. Terry Delvaux.
Yes.
Jim Blumreich. Alderman Joe Moore.
Yes.
Melanie Parman. Yes. Matt Schuler. Yep. Tom Weber.
Yes.
Chris has got this mic.
Yes. Yeah. Alderman Joe Moore.
Yes.
Melanie Parma.
Yes.
Matt Schuler.
Yes.
Tom Weber.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion on the approval of the term sheet.
Given the meeting.
We work together all day, we sit next to one another.
So during the closed session, the Redevelopment Authority reviewed the proposals on the south, north, Broadway, and west areas as outlined by Director Kevin Vonk, and there's quite a bit of discussion on it, needless to say, and I think the RDA members have a better handle now on just what the proposal is, and there are obviously some incidental costs related to this that we cannot divulge at this time, so that's what took place.
Dr. Wonk, I would say, in the closed session, there was discussion about the use of TIF and expansion or new, and I think those are some things we need to look at. As far as the term sheet that's presented to us today, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the term sheet and that we move forward with the event center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Jim Boomer. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Number 8, a consideration with possible action on request from staff to use KI maintenance funds to replace lighting fixtures in the stairwells and award contract to low qualified bidder.
All right, so I'm
Cheryl.
passing out the bids on this right now. This actually request came from our Department of Public Works. They're working on, you've heard the report, the lighting in the stairwells, and it was discovered that in order to replace those light bulbs, they'd have to have scaffolding coming in each time, $3,500 a pop. So we're deciding we'd like to just change those light fixtures out so they're easily accessible by staff to actually change the light bulbs. That bid came in today at $15,725 from Northern Electric. It was approved and vetted through purchasing and public works, so I would ask that we make this.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion to approve the low bid then of Northern Electric for $15,725 for the light fixtures at the KI Center. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Why were they built in the first place? All right, number 9, consideration of possible action on request from staff to use KI maintenance funds for the installation of a roof hydrant.
Okay, this is a smaller request, but we're looking to service the fixtures on the top of the roof. They need a water source up there, so we need to install that hydrant. So that's going to be, that bill came in at $2,600.
Is the water already up there or
No, we need to get it up there.
from the ground?
Yes.
Oh.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is by Gary, second by Melanie to use KI maintenance funds for the installation of a roof hydrant. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Number 10, consideration of possible action request from the Hyatt Regency to use KI in-kind funds for the replacement of 500 chairs and 14 transport dollies that would exceed $79,667.
Okay, so we've been working on making some improvements with the KI with some needs that they have. One of the things we want to do is get the chairs up a total count of 4,000. We were able to do 2,500 with the new KI expansion, but we'd like to add another 500 and then next year also replace some more so they're all the same black mesh, easily stackable, easily movable. They all look the same. And replacing some green folding, some brown folding, and some other chairs as well. So we got the bids on this. This bid came in at $79,667. It's actually not a bid because it's an in-kind donation through the KI, through the naming rights. This is the balance of money that's left in that pool. We can only use that money for furniture for the KI. It comes from the KI.
What do we do with the old?
Some of the old stuff we actually Parks took last year, and they ended up using it at Bay Beach. And I think you've been very good about just offering up. I think the last one went to Bay Beach, I believe, and generally it finds another home.
Yard sale.
Scrap value.
Yeah.
Where are we buying these chairs?
KI. Well,
There's
it's really
Yeah, I mean, and really when you break it down, it's a great price for those chairs.
Is it? Because I was wondering, how much we pay for these chairs? I was looking at the, I don't know.
If you just did the 500 chairs.
It's not a NASA statement.
It's the chairs plus the dollies to roll them. So they stack them and roll them.
Yeah.
Very individually.
That kind of furniture is
Expensive.
crazy expensive. Yeah, it really is.
I know,
So-
I was just,
So I'll make a motion to approve that
Second.
expenditure.
We motion and nomination by Gary then to, Joel, I'm sorry. On the request of the Hyatt Regency to use KI in-kind funds for the replacement of 500 chairs and 14 transfer dollars not to exceed $79,667. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 11.
Thank you for hanging out, KI staff. Thank you.
Must that be entertaining? Do we charge admission today?
Number 11, consideration of possible action on awarding contract CD 1603, 6th Street resurfacing to the lowest qualified bidder.
We actually received no bids
Really?
on this project. So what we'd like to do is just receive this and place it on file. We will bid it out in the spring.
So move.
Motion second then to place a proposal on file. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 12, consideration of possible action on approving hold harmless agreement with DDL Holdings LLC for work on 420 North Broadway, tax parcels 51756.
All right, so as you know, we approved modification to existing development agreement for the property south of Kellogg, buildings A, B, C, and D.
Right.
They're continuing work on C and D right now. They're going to start to take occupancy of those buildings this fall. With that, they want to make sure that they have enough parking, primarily for their employees. You know, if you go over there during peak times, it gets busy. So with that, they have requested if they could just make some improvements north of Kellogg, property that we own. They would like to seal coat the area, actually kind of by the Quonset hut and on the east side by the Quonset hut and the railroad tracks. Just put a seal coat over that, and then the area right behind the building, just put a layer of asphalt with a drive down to the temporary Kellogg Street right now.
So is that a temporary thing then, Kevin, or?
So the agreement will be written that that's temporary.
If we sell that,
It's no secret, we're still working with them, and, I mean, even meetings as of today, in terms of the future development of that and selling that off. The agreement basically says that it's temporary, and I think this is a better solution than trying to put in a temporary parking lot and more impervious there. Let's just improve the areas that we have, so that, you know, when we move forward with something and need to tear those out, we're not tearing out that much.
I make a motion to authorize staff to draft and execute whole harmless agreement with DDL Holdings LLC for work on 420 North Broadway, tax parcel 5-1756.
motion by Gary, second by
Matt.
Matt. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 13, consideration of possible action on purchase of 633 South Chestnut using CDBG funding. Cheryl, I would call. There's wait.
Okay, this is a single-family rental property located in the Tank neighborhood, which is actually in the Shipyard District in the west neighborhood.
West,
Just
we're talking west here.
West. The west neighborhood, the Shipyard District.
First mover.
Yeah. So it's, as you see, it's a postage size lot. It's very small. It's a very blighted property. It actually was a garage, I think, at one point that was turned into a house. So the ceilings are super low in the first level. It's in very bad condition. So we like to do is purchase this with CDBG funds for $45,000. We would actually take it down. There is some interest in the adjacent neighbors that they could combine the parcels, or at some point, if we're doing some future development, use this parcel.
One neighbor or
I
two
think at this
neighbors?
point-
So one
There's an
neighbor?
alley
There's an alley.
on this
This
side.
is actually one block off of Broadway. So it's on the corner of South Chestnut and 4th.
So really,
So
I
Richard
think-
Cranium's is right there, kind of in front of that on Broadway. There's a,
based on your prior vote, we will hold that parcel.
Yeah.
We will remove it and hold it.
Okay. Oh, sure.
Because this is actually on the block face, we were actually looking at doing a town hall development.
Okay.
So, great.
That's good. I was thinking.
Motion
to,
What do you guys make?
We have a motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Nat, to proceed with the purchase of 833 South Chestnut. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried. I'll ask for a motion to accept the financial report and check register as provided. So motion by Jim, second by Nat. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried. Kevin, director's report and project updates. They have nothing to say, right?
We're busy.
Well, we're gonna hang
Tell me
back
one
in.
thing. What's happening with the Colburn Park pool? You know?
I've seen designs for it, it's been engineered, so there's a site plan. I believe it is with DPW and our parks right now in terms of preparing the documents to go bid that out.
It's not been bid out yet, then.
My understanding is no.
Do you think it'll come out this year yet for
Yeah.
bidding?
What was the pool design?
Full-size, Olympic size with changing bathhouse. I think there's some additional amenities like a side
Olympic
swimming
size.
pool. Yeah.
For the neighborhood to support the traffic that's going to be pulled in.
Make a motion to adjourn.
That's all you have? Bring nothing to us.
I know. Marathon meetings.
Yeah.
We may have another, no time to shave.
We're adjourned now.
No time to shave.
Great job, Kevin.
Excellent job.
Excellent job.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys.
Never had frustration.